Hi, my name is Greg Lehman. Welcome to Moonbeams. Today's guest is Maya Salameh. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Greg.
Absolutely. So, getting started into our questions here, what is exciting you most about poetry at the moment?
I love this question. I think honestly, the amount of energy that I've seen from like the writers and poets that I love around organizing and fundraising for Palestine, I think in the past 2 years, all of us as like literary citizens have learned a lot about what complicity and allyship mean. And also I think I've had really valuable conversations in the last year with a lot of my loved ones and cherished writers about what it means to like move beyond passive refusal and boycotts and is X journal my friend? Does X institution agree with my beliefs on this issue? And more towards like active contribution. A lot of that work for me has meant like mutual aid fundraising. I've been lucky to raise over $20,000 for displaced Palestinian families in the last 2 years, and that has made me selfishly feel useful. I think that George Abraham said something which I keep in mind, really close to my heart. They're a dear friend, but he said, I never want an American to have the last word. And I really agree with that. I think the use of, especially as an Arab American, like there's none of my poetry will ever be worth me sacrificing my moral beliefs on the issue of Palestine. And I think I've been able to like really materially live my values, especially in my artistic career around this issue, and seeing others do the same has been really inspiring.
Absolutely. What was the name of that organization that you fundraised for again?
It's well, I fundraised for the PCRF, which is like Palestinian Children's
Yeah,
Aid.
yeah, yeah.
Lately, I've been fundraising more for the Samir Project, which is on the ground in South and West Gaza.
Outstanding. An amazing organization, Runners for Justice in Palestine and in Los Angeles, who I shared with you about earlier. We fundraise with them too. They're a wonderful team to work with, very easy to work with, very approachable, and what an essential and it just yeah, what else can I say besides essential and much needed cause to get behind. So thank you so much for doing that. Thank you for sharing about this. And then moving from there, which poets were most impactful in getting you to become a poet?
I owe all of my writing to the poets that I love. Um, First and foremost, Atal Adnan, especially her books Sitmari Rose and the Arab Apocalypse. Those were really instrumental to my own thinking about like form, symbology, and like the way a poem appears on the page. Of course, a dear mentor of mine, Sophia Hello, she helped me work on my first book, and like her work just has always been. I mentioned the January Children earlier. I also adore Girls That Never Die, Bright Red Fruit. She writes banger after banger, so I cannot recommend her work enough. Other poets that I really adore are Hala Elian, Betty Judah, Khadija Queen, especially I'm So Fine, Franny Choi, and Soft Science was a huge inspiration for my first book, How to Make an Algorithm in the Microwave. She thought a lot about like cyborg girlhood, which is something that I find especially lush and evocative. Vanessa Villarreal and her book Beast Meridian, also about monstrous girlhood. Ayan Sharara, my dear friend Just Kalla, and also like the classic romantic Arab poets, Adonis, Marouane Mossadegh, Zara Abani. I feel very privileged and honored to be in a long lineage of Arab poets who write about love and yearning and desire and rage. Um, yeah.
So was it a matter of you were already writing and you found these mentors, or did you grow up reading these authors and thinking like, I want to do that too?
You know, my father, he wrote, and he was a poet, and I was very lucky that he introduced me to, what is his name? Khalil Gibran's The Prophet. That was like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
first ever book of poetry I read. And I was like, well, there has to be more of this. And so, you know, as a teenager, I would just be like, Arab poetry and like try and like check out whatever I could find at the library. And then I was like, well, Arab American lady poetry. Are there more of me? And like, the more I, you know, did my own kind of ad hoc research and developed like my own kind of intellectual artistic curriculum, because no one's going to teach you this, and public school definitely doesn't. And yeah, I think I was just lucky to like find people and communities online, whether it was like Google searches or like Twitter friends. Summer Farah and Just Color are like my dear friends, and I Just Color was actually the first winner of the Atal Adnan Prize, and I read her book, The Magic My Body Becomes, and that's what made me super excited about the Atal Adnan Prize series. I've read every single book in that series since then, and I feel very honored and happy that my book is in that lineage of Arab American writing. Um, yeah, but yeah, I think a lot of it has just been like research rabbit holes that I found myself on.
The access is one of the best parts of the double-edged sword we have with social media and the internet these days. And yeah, I'm glad, it brought you here and brought you to a solid body of work that I'm happy to platform here. It's wonderful to see. If you could change something about how culture views poetry today, what would it be?
Probably that, and this is something I felt like since I was a high schooler, but that you need some type of like license, degree, credential, golden certificate to call yourself a writer or a poet. If you write, you're a writer. If you've written a single poem, I think you're a poet. Oftentimes, in a lot of my readings, I'm surrounded by dead poets or like older adults, or even just people will come up to me and be like, "I used to write poetry." Well, I don't know why you stopped. You didn't have to get an MFA to like keep writing, and nobody's gonna give you permission to make the things you want to make. I think I just came to realization that like no one is gonna give me permission to make the experimental, strange, angry poetry that I want to write. I'm just gonna have to write it.
Absolutely. I feel like there's an unfortunate relationship that's been built up around releasing like more emotion as you get older, or more fun, or more joy, or more just in general expression. And that certainly does not need to be the case. And it's a strange tendency that, gives us some, less joy to our society and our culture, I think. And I'm just glad to hear you kind of underline, that question, like, why'd you stop? That's a great question to ask people. Cool, cool. All right. So moving on to the word association game I like to bring up here. Ready to go? Okay. Weekend.
Fun. Do
Spoon.
I have to say 10 words in relation or just one?
Oh, no, no. So I got 10 words, and then yeah, we'll just go boom, 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 boom. Okay. All right. Spoon,
Fork.
couch,
Hair.
laptop,
Screen.
freeway,
405.
orange,
Jasmine.
frustration,
Email.
relief,
Bed.
swan,
Lake.
and hope.
Horizon.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I love that game. I've never played that before in an interview.
Yeah, it's cool because like I think I shared with this, like I've been just trying to make it like more approachable and fun, and like a lot of people it puts them on their back foot, but like in a fun way, so yeah, glad you liked it. And then a favorite line that you would like to share with our audience here.
Yeah. Um, I read Ghayat Adnan collection Adrenaline a long time ago, like in high school, but I've been thinking about it a lot lately. He is a Palestinian poet displaced to Syria who now lives in Germany, from what I recall. And he wrote, "Death cannot give me a homeland, and if it can, then I don't want it." I've been thinking about that a lot lately.
Amazing, amazing. So it's just that's just the one line from like the title of the poem, or
Yeah. Or I don't remember the title. The name of the collection is Adrenaline. I don't remember what poem that line is from. I just know that that line is somewhere in that collection. I highly recommend the book.
well, I mean, it says, I mean, that's a golden line, but just that like that stayed with you like that is great. I love that. Well, cool. And then recent and upcoming publications of your own that you would like to share?
Yeah, I have a new book coming out, Mermaid Theory. It's coming out in April. And most recently, I had some poems come out with only poems. My favorite of which is called "Why Aren't Y'all Driving Your Friends to the Airport?" So you can check that out over at the Only Poems website. And look out for the book in April.
Awesome. And then yeah, so the first mermaid ever climbs out of the sea and tells you she won't take you back. Did that spark this collection? Is it part of the collection? Or what's going on there?
Yeah, it's low-key the heart of the collection, or like it's the first mermaid poem I wrote in like a long series of mermaid poems that became the book Mermaid Theory. Um, yeah, I have been recently very fascinated, honestly obsessed with the mythical figure of the mermaid, what it means for like cryptid monstrous girlhood, especially as an Arab American woman, and also just how any concept of an Arab mermaid could exist in today's military industrial age.
Okay, yeah. And then just the different ways that I mean it's such a ripe fable for all kinds of messaging and the way it's been interpreted like throughout like from I believe the Grimm's fables and then to Disney to Splash and everything and to put it in the context that you are if you could share a little bit about the a little more about the themes that you're finding and yeah, I'll leave it there.
Yeah. Well, actually, I forget how I stumbled upon. I know that one of my friends, Dr. Bana Al-Hadbana, she has written a gorgeous collection of poems called La Sirena, Visions from a Syrian Mermaid from Space. And her whole book is full of like amazingly researched, kind of like fable-based poetry about indigenous Arab gods and goddesses. One of the poems touches on the myth of the mermaid Atargatis, which I was kind of curious about. I had never heard the word before, so I looked her up, and it turns out that one of the oldest, if not the oldest, mermaid myth in the world originates from Syria, which is where my mother is from, um, and that most stories, the fables differ around her origin, but the one that my favorite is that she killed her husband or lover while they were making love, and she felt so guilty about it that she threw herself into the ocean. And the gods were like, "Well, no, queen, like don't do that," and they turned her into a mermaid. And something about the story feels so wry and silly, but also very serious, and also like I think poses both like questions about embodiment, sexuality, and also like resurrection, regeneration, and survival. Um, yeah, it just I yeah, and as someone who really loves cryptids and like monsters and creatures, um, I also think I've enjoyed subverting the myth of the mermaid as this like aerial creature and more as like actually like a deadly, monstrous, lush apex predator in my mind.
Yeah, yeah. I think the culture is very ready for that kind of a flip on the script. Yeah, and you said it's coming out in April?
Yes.
Outstanding. And who's the press?
Haymarket Books.
Outstanding. We'll shout them out. Okay. So Maya, thank you so much. This was a gift. And yeah, just really glad to hear your support for the Palestinian Children's Relief Fund, an amazing organization, and the more eyes we can get on what's happening and continues to happen there, the better from any community, but especially the poetry community as well. So thank you so much for what you're doing.
Yeah, I think it feels like the very least I can do, and nothing I do is enough, but I still think it matters.
Absolutely. Thank you, thank you. I'll give you the last word too, given what you said before.
Yeah. Really, that's all. Thank you for having me, Greg, and yeah, thanks for having me on Moonbeams, and I'm glad we got to talk.